Now, even though at this point in my investing career, as a lot of you guys probably know if you watch my channel, I pretty much invest into dividend growth and or income focused ETFs that offer instant diversification and massive dividend yields compared to the rest of the market starting day one, if not massive dividend growth rates. And this is just because I'm a little bit older and more busy than I used to be, and I don't really have the time I used to dig into single stocks and keep up with everything you need to know. But also along with it, there's just better and better ETFs that keep popping up almost day after day, it feels like, in the markets. But even with all that being said, in today's video, we're going to go through some single stocks, 4 different high yielding single stocks that I think are definitely worth buying into for the long term. Now, none of these single stocks are going to be considered ultra high yield, but they're going to offer you much higher yields than you would normally see across the general markets. Now, again, this is sort of a treat because I don't really talk about single stocks as much on my channel, so if you guys are interested in this, then make sure to stick around. If you are a dividend investor who wants to level up your portfolio, you need to be tracking your dividend income consistently. And that's why I created the perfect dividend tracker that I've used to scale my dividend income up to all-time highs over the last year. Now, along with this dividend tracker, you're also going to receive my A to Z dividend investing ebook, which shows you how I personally started from $0 several years ago to now where I earn over $7,500 per month in dividends. So if you want this tracker and the ebook, go to the first link down below in my description and grab it today. So the first single stock that I definitely think is worth buying into for long-term investors and is one of my largest holdings across my 7-figure portfolio is none other than ticker symbol below, the monthly paying dividend stock Realty Income. Now, Realty Income, for those of you guys don't know, is a real estate investment trust. It was founded in 1969, and it says that we invest in diversified commercial real estate and have a portfolio of 15,450 properties in all 50 states, in the UK, and 6 other countries in Europe. It says we are known as the monthly dividend company and have a mission to deliver stockholders dependable monthly income that can grow over time too. They've declared 654 consecutive dividend payouts in a row and are a member of the S&P 500 Dividend Aristocrat Index. Now, also important, especially for long-term investors, they've increased their dividends for 30 consecutive years, offering more and more income potential year after year after year. Now, I bought into Realty Income right when I started investing around 7 or 8 years ago, and I love the idea of buying into a share of Realty Income and then that following month getting paid 19 or 20 cents, whatever it used to be when I first started buying it. Now, Realty Income could be a perfect buying opportunity as of right now, especially because over the last 5 or so years, Realty Income's price has not been doing well whatsoever. Realty Income's 15,000 plus properties for the most part are doing just fine. Realty Income is receiving the majority, almost all the rent consistently. And although there are sort of a few bad apples in all of Realty Income Corporation's portfolio diversification, I think this REIT is still going to do great long term. Now, not to mention, if you zoom out, Realty Income has still been an absolute monster of a stock, 540+%. Not to mention, as of right now, with where Realty Income is trading, the stock's offering almost a 6% forward yield that again has grown consistently over time. Now, Realty Income has not offered the most dividend growth historically, but like I said, when I first started buying Realty Income, I was getting paid around 20 or 21 cents per share per month, and as of right now, over 26 cents per share. So for a longer term investor that's looking for some higher yielding options, I still personally think that Realty Income is a great opportunity, but again, only time will tell. Now, another higher yielder that I'm a huge fan of that's not as much of a higher yielder as of right now because it's been trading so good over the past several years is ticker symbol Main or Main Street Capital Corporation. Now, Main Street Capital is a monthly paying dividend stock that I'm sure some of you guys have heard of, and maybe some of you even own it. But it says Main Street Capital, based in Houston, Texas, has helped over 200 private companies grow or transition by providing flexible private equity and debt capital solutions. Privately held businesses turn to us because we are Main Street, not Wall Street. We build relationships and tailor transactions to meet the unique needs of our portfolio companies and their owners. So Main Street Capital is a business development company, and they basically work with companies between the 10 to 150 million level. Now, the funny thing about Main Street Capital is that this is another one that I bought into a long time ago. I bought into Main Street Capital in 2020. I was buying Main Street Capital in the 20s and the 30s, and I personally thought that Main Street Capital was getting way overpriced when it reached the $40 range. So I unfortunately got rid of most of my Main Street Capital for a nice profit, but since then, Main Street Capital has continued to pay more and more dividends over time, which I'm going to show you here in a second, and it's just continued to trade up and to the right. Now, luckily, I still own a bunch of Main Street Capital, but this is a position I wish I would have just held on to for the long term because it's been an absolute monster. Now, Main's up around 269% of the max time frame since around 2007, and look at it on the 1 year, 30% in the 1 year, year to date, almost 30%. Not to mention this one offers around a 7.5% yield. Now, the crazy thing about Main Street Capital is that it's been growing over time. They've been growing their dividends over time, but as you can see, they've also been paying special dividends on top of that. And the way that I put it as a Main Street Capital holder, it just feels like they're consistently consistently paying you more and more income and special dividends along the way. Now, because of all this and more, I consider Main Street Capital one of my favorite stocks across the entire markets, especially for a dividend-oriented investor like myself. But also, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Main Street Capital is the best monthly paying dividend stock just because of what it's done over the past 5 or so years for my portfolio. Now, is Main Street Capital offering a massive buying opportunity in the mid-50s? Your guess is as good as mine, but this one just keeps going up and to the right, and I'm still adding a few shares of Main Street Capital here and there. Now, another high-yielding dividend stock that I'm a huge fan of, have held for years now, and also still buy here and there is EPD, or Enterprise Product Partners. Now, it says Enterprise Product Partners LP is one of the largest publicly traded partnerships and a leading North American provider of midstream energy services to producers and consumers of natural gas, NGLs, crude oil, or refined product and petrochemicals. Now, to be completely honest with Enterprise Product Partners, I came across this one early on in my dividend investing journey simply because it was offering a massive starting yield and had a nice track record of paying dividends and growing their dividends over time. Now, since then, sort of like Main Street Capital, this one has not only provided a nice high starting yield for my portfolio, but also dividend increases and has also been trading up and to the right. Now, although EPD is not trading at all-time highs like we saw sometime in 2014, it's inching closer and closer to that by the day. Now, as far as yield goes, 6.5% forward yield, which is still pretty high considering how much it's grown, but along with that, consistent payouts year after year for a lot longer than I've been buying it, offering a nice decent dividend growth rate, especially for a single stock that's offering well north of a 6% starting yield. All in all, as far as the higher yielding stocks go that offer safety, that offer dividends and dividend growth, EPD is one of my favorites across the markets. Now, even though this one isn't considered necessarily super high yield, it is offering over 2 times the amount of dividends that you would receive if you were to invest in the S&P, so I had to add it in the video. We're talking about Agree Realty, or ticker symbol ADC. Now, ADC is also a REIT, and a really high quality REIT at that. I've made videos about ADC in the past, and I'll probably make some more in the future. ADC owns 2,271 properties, 67% are investment grade, and as you can see right here in their slideshow, some of the best, most reputable companies and brands across the markets. Now, I unfortunately sort of missed out on ADC back when I started investing, and I instead went basically all in on ticker symbol Realty Income, which, going back in time, if I could, of course, I would do a much more diversified basket, maybe half ADC and half Realty Income. And this is simply because I think that ADC has much higher potential to grow over time as far as stock price goes compared to Realty Income at this moment, and also some of the tenants that ADC has are just amazing. But on the max time frame since around 1994, ADC is up 377%, not to mention it offers over a 4% starting dividend yield, which isn't the highest in the world, but remember, this REIT also has some massive growth potential and pays a dividend monthly, which is sort of handy. Now, a lot of dividend investors would agree that ADC is probably one of the best REITs across the entire REIT sector, and while the yield isn't necessarily massive, it still is over 4%, so I had to include in today's video. So those are 4 of my current favorite dividend paying single stocks across the entire market as of right now that all offer north of a 4 or 5% starting yield. Now, with the market being as expensive as it is currently, it is harder and harder to find different stocks, and even ETFs for that matter, that offer a dividend yield that you could potentially earn a lot of cash flow with. Now, that's why I pretty much stick to option income oriented ETFs that track an index and utilize an option strategy in order to earn a ton more income potential from day one. But all that being said, you can see across my portfolio, I own a ton of single stocks still to this day, so I'm not necessarily considered an ETF investor. But now, lastly, before I go, because we went through the 4 names in today's video, I want to hear from you guys down below. Out of the 4 names we talked about, if you could only choose one of them for whatever reason, which stock would you choose? Drop the ticker symbol in my comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.